Hello everyone, welcome to our next topic. In this topic, we'll see how to do entry for TDS on rent in Zoho. So under that, we will cover what is 194I, what is the object of TDS under section 194I, condition of TDS on rent, time of deduction and rate of deduction and entry of TDS in Zoho books. So what is section 194AI? According to this section is for rent. Is defined of sum of money paid under a lease, sublease, tenancy or any other agreement for using of building, land, machine, plant, equipment, furniture. Regarding that, income tax department has come with the section 194I for the rent of the property, machine, plant, equipment for that. For many people, rent is a necessary part of their income and therefore it is a taxable. People pay the rent on a time and by ITA regulation properly simplify the TDS payment process also. What are the object of TDS under section 194I? So objection first, the section 194I is include the Financial Act 1994. This 194I, it is introduced in the Financial Act 1994 because rent was a subject of tax deduction. When we pay the rent, it is be a subject of a tax deduction. The government put in the place TDS provision to pay rent for the revenue. Okay, and means TDS pay rent is as a government has taken the rent is pay rent as a revenue. So we have to deduct TDS on that. Some income is liable to TDS deduction and in other nation also. Condition, when we have to deduct TDS on rent, unless foreign firm is involved and the payment exceed 1 crore, there is no such charge applied for to the TDS on rent. Means if you have a foreign firm and you have involved payment more than 1 lakh, then there is, more than 1 crore, payment exceed more than 1 crore, then there is no surcharge applied TDS on rent. Then there is no need to be paid TDS on rent. But for foreign firm, the payee must provide the landlord or the rent recipient PAN in order for TDS deduction to be made. Under section 26(206) means 206 AA required a 20% TDS to be taken rent if the PAN number is not given. If PAN is not given to the landlord, the payee must provide the landlord or the rent recipient PAN. Means you have to provide the PAN. If you are not providing the PAN, then you have the pay. There is a TDS deduction of rate of TDS deduction will be 20%. There is no secondary or higher education cess or education cess assessed by the TDS on rent. There is no such SSC charge or surcharge TDS on rent. When we deduct TDS, rent TDS, if the payment is made by the government or on its behalf, then we have to be, at that time, we have to deduct TDS without using of challan form. If it is made by someone other than government, it must be made or on or behalf the 7 days. Means if you have deduct the TDS on April month, then next month is within the 7th May, you have to pay TDS. If the fund are credited or received in March, then deadline will be a 30th April. Rate of a TDS, when the payee credit landlord account with the income by the way of rent, TDS is subtracted. It is important to remember that TDS is withheld at the time of payment. If the rent pays with cash, means at the time of payment, you have to deduct the TDS. TDS rent as follow. TDS on rent paid plant, machinery, equipment will be 2% rate. If you have paid rent for the land building, then 10%. If you paid rent on furniture fitting, then it will be a 10%. Means if you have paying rate for the plant, machinery or equipment, then there will be TDS deduction rate will be 22%. If you are rent paid for the land, building or both, then TDS rate will be 10%. If you are paid rent for furniture or fitting, that also TDS rent will be a 10%. I hope you have understand what is the section 19(4)(I), what are the object. The object is for the, it is as rent is also a revenue of the income. So we have to deduct TDS on that. Condition on TDS on rent and time of deduction when you have to deduct time. Condition on TDS on rent. If you are a foreign firm involved at the payment of exceed 1 crore, there is no surcharge applied on the TDS on rent. Means if you are foreign firm, then payment exceeds 1 crore, there is no surcharge applied when you deduct TDS on rent. Pay must have a PAN card. If pay has not a PAN card, then TDS will be 20% of TDS will be deducted. There's no cess or education cess will be charges on TDS on rent. Time of deduction, when the payment is made at the time of that time we have to deduct TDS and deposit to the government. The time limit of deposit to the government is, if you are paying you have pay the rent for the April month, then the next month within the 7 days. If you are paying rent for March month, then the deadline will be a 30th April. Before the 30th April, you have to pay TDS to the government. Rate of TDS for rent paid plant machinery, then 2%, land and building 10%, and furniture and fitting also for 10%. Now move into the Zoho book and see how to do TDS on rent entry. Purchase tab, click on the purchase tab, then bill, then new, write the party name. I'm showing one invoice to you, that is a party name. Okay, you want to enter vendor email, mobile number, you can enter. It is register one, then register, GSTN number. Okay. And TDS, you have to deduct TDS rent on. It is rent for land. Then click on save. Now enter the bill number. Bill date. It is for cabin seat. Again, service. Again, it is purchase. GST will be 18%. We are giving the rent to the registered person. As you can see, there's TDS deduction 35,410% on that. Now click on save as. Now this is our invoice for rent. So I hope you have understand what is the section 19.4i. It is for the TDS on rent. And how to enter the TDS in Zoho book, object of the TDS under section 94, condition, time of deduction, and rate of deduction. I hope you have understand. If you have any doubt regarding that or you have any question, you can email us info@skillanything.com or contact in this number. Thank you so much for watching the video.